You're live, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. Good evening and welcome to this Strategy and Resources Committee meeting on Thursday, the 23rd of January 2025. My name is Councillor John Driver. I am the Vice Chair of this committee and I'm stepping in for the Chair, Councillor Mark Durham, who has had to give his apologies. Members, we are streaming this meeting live as well as recording, and by being present in the meeting, you are giving your consent to being recorded. During each item, please put your hand up to indicate if you wish to speak. I will then invite you at the appropriate time. Could I ask members to avoid approaching the top table, as this could create interference with the cameras and live stream. Please note that the YouTube live stream sound recording is dependent on the correct use of the microphones. Therefore, can I ask that when invited to speak, you remember to turn on your microphone and turn it off when finished. Please reference a page or paragraph number when referring to an agenda item and keep your contributions as clear and concise as possible. We do not have any fire alarm testing scheduled for today. If you hear the alarm, please exit using either the two marked fire escape routes. One out of the building, please proceed, or once out of the building, please proceed to the designated muster points located on the grass verge by the police station. One other point from me, it is a long agenda. So please, members, if we can stick to the time, I will attempt to steer our way through this evening's meetings as productively as I can, but I will be applying rules of procedure. So you have 3 minutes and I will stick to that. Otherwise, we will struggle to get through the agenda. Okay, item number 2 then, apologies for absence. Tara, can we have, for Ms. Bird, can we have any apologies for absence, please?
Yes, Chairman, thank you so much. Apologies been received from Councillor Durham and Councillor Lay, and Councillor Hythe is attending as a substitute for Councillor Durham.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bird. Agenda item 3 then, minutes. It is recommended that the minutes of the meeting held on Thursday, the 26th of September 2024, found on pages 5 to 30, are approved as a true and accurate record. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Ms. Thompson. So can we approve by assent? Agreed. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry.
Thank you very much. Can I just for accuracy, page 9, I think there should be an S at the end of concern. Concerns raised would help. And if we don't mind, can I just have a follow up on the Burnham-onCrouch pontoon mooring fees? Did Councillor Pratt, did you get your answer to that? No. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we'll need to follow up on that. Thank you very much. If you haven't had a response to that and we were asked for it, then we'll need to, that needs to be followed up and you need to get a response. Okay, thank you very much. Noting those points, we are happy to agree by assent. Thank you very much. On to agenda item 4 then, declarations of interest. To disclose the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interests, other registrable interests and non-registrable interests relating to items of business on the agenda having regard to paragraph 9 and appendix B of the Code of Conduct for members. Members are reminded that they are also required to disclose any such interest as soon as they become aware, should the need arise throughout the meeting. Are there any declarations of interest? Councillor Fluker.
Thank you, Chairman. Addendum 11, I'm Maldon Harbour Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. Any other declarations of interest? No? Okay, thank you. So on to agenda item 5 then, public participation. I can advise that we have not received any submissions from members of the public. So we go on to agenda item 6 then. Supplementary estimates, virements, procedure, exemptions and use of reserves. This agenda item can be found on pages 31 to 34 of your pack. I think Mr. Cookson, you are speaking to this, so If you can present it, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. I've come to present the Supplementary Estimates, Virements, Procurement Exemptions and Use of Reserves report for Q3. As you'll see in the recommendations, this is to be noted, the adjustments below. So it's the virement as detailed in paragraph 331 be noted, and that the reserve drawdowns as detailed in paragraph 3.6 also be noted. So there's a small virement gone through for £2,000. That's a budget movements between budget managers that have been agreed. There were no procurement exemptions or supplementary estimates. And just to make you aware of the use of reserves, so there's a list of reserves there. You can see that the majority of them are under the £20,000 threshold. So we have got delegated authority to process those, and then we need to make the Strategy and Resources Committee aware of those movements. The one for 168,000 is to fund salaries in the planning team, and that's actually included in the original budget, which was approved back in February. That's it. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, well, the recommendations, little one, that the virements as detailed in paragraph 3.3.1 be noted, and little 2, that the reserve drawdowns as detailed in paragraph 3.6.1 be noted. Questions or comments, members? Yes, thank you. Thank you, Richard. Councillor Siddle, sorry. Any questions relating to this? Councillor Lagan.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just to clarify that 168,000, Ben, you said that was agreed in the budget. So was it like held back and then we just drew that down at that time? So that was an approved sum of money?
Yes, it was approved when the budget was actually set. So this is just confirming this amount that will be drawn down to fund the salaries of the GIS officer, Paul Morton, and the LDP project officer. Any residual funds will be used to fund the assistant director's post.
So that doesn't, if I may come back to you, just so that doesn't mean that that is a new drawdown, and that doesn't mean that is in line with the constitutional requirements within over £20,000 needs to come to the committee for approval because it's already been approved. Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Fluker.
Just through you to the Section 151 officer, £168,000 on local spend to review the development plan, as it is not the local development plan anymore. I wondered whether or not, because of where we are with local government reform going forward, this is money well spent.
Do you want to respond? Mr. Wilkinson, you'd like to respond?
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Fluke, I think it is my conversations with colleagues across the county is that even with local government reform, the local development plans will still need to come together. I think we're a few years away from LGR being completed, and I think it's wise and prudent that we develop our local development plan here and now so that we've got something to take forward, and no doubt in the future a number of local development plans will then be consolidated into a larger.
Thank you. Councillor Siddle.
Thank you, Chair. Also at all the ministry summits and webinars that we've been attending, that question has been asked, and Baroness Taylor has said that government, the MCHLG, if I get that right, has said that they expect councils to continue with their plan making.
Okay, so we've had the recommendations which have been seconded. Are we happy to agree by assent? Thank you very much. Okay, on to agenda item 7 then. This can be found on pages 35 to 56 within your pack. And can I ask Ms Green please to present the report? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. This report comes tonight following a request from members for more information following the fees and charges report on the 21st of November. What you will see in the report, members, is confirmation of where the proposals came from. So these proposals came through our car park task and finish working group. The basis of bringing this forward is at 3.5 through to 3.6. Since this was considered by the task and finish working group, we have had some concerns raised by residents. So what you will see in 3.8 is some proposed concessions to the proposals, which would certainly address some of the concerns that have been raised if they were permitted. So in conclusion, members, that information is presented for you tonight, and we have set out a range of various recommendations for you to consider this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Green. I'll read out the recommendations and then we can have a discussion. So, recommendation little 1, that members consider the further information appendixes 1 to 4 previously considered by the car parking task and finish working group and recommend to the council one of the options set out below, little 2 to little 5. So little 2, that the car park charges originally proposed on the 21st of November 2024 and set out at appendix 4 be approved, or little 3, that the car park charges originally proposed on the 21st of November and set out appendix 4 be approved, but with a concession for up to 6 car parking spaces to be made available for free use for up to 2 hours at Foundry Lane to support local residents to use the GP surgery, and the introduction of paid or for permits for GP surgery staff, or little 4, that the car park charges originally proposed on the 21st of November for Riverside Park only be approved for 25-26, and review car parking charges for Millfield and Foundry Lane car parks during 25-26. Or finally, little 5, that the car park charges originally proposed on the 21st of November 2024 not be agreed, and the council continues to offer free car parking at all Burnham-onCrouch car parks. I won't ask for a second because there's a variety of sort of recommendations in there. So let's have the discussion and then we'll see where this goes. Councillor Stamp.
Through you, Chair, I'd like to make a proposal first, thank you, and then I'd like to speak and after the other residents. The other members have had the debate, but I think it's well within my right to propose. I'd like to propose that we agree recommendation little 5, that the car park charges originally proposed on the 21st of November 2024 not be agreed, and the council continue to offer free parking in all Burnham-onCrouch car parks. And I'd like to ask for a seconder and a recorded vote, please.
That is one of the. Just check. That is one of the recommendations.
Yes.
So we can jump straight to that without coming to any of the other. All right. Okay. Councillor Fluker.
Yeah, just at this point, just a matter of clarity. 4.5 talks about the original proposals being presented to the CPTFWG and the Finance Working Group. Can you confirm, Chairman, whether or not these new proposals have been presented to those working groups and what the response was?
In terms of the data behind this report, that did form part of the discussion at the working group. So there's nothing new in terms of what is within the figures. What is new is that actually there are suggestions that some elements of the charges are not applied, and that is what you see within the paper. So some elements have been removed, taking into account some of the concessions. So a comment was made that there were to be, or there might be concessions. The paper outlines what they are. Given there was a concern that was raised at the last Strategy and Resources Committee. This has not gone back to a further working group meeting.
It has. Right, okay, that answers the question.
Councillor Siddle.
Thank you, Chair. We do have a good reserves within the council, and my view is we need to take a common sense approach in terms of these charges. we do need to consider how we maintain our assets, and that's one of the crucial things, and that's part of the reason why I first thought this was perhaps a good idea, so that we can help maintain those assets within Burnham. Having looked at where we are, having looked at that evidence, I think maybe at the moment it's not the right thing to do, and we need to take that back and review. I do think, maybe not us, but whoever we become in a few years' time is likely to look at this again. Residents of Burnham, this is a reprieve, but I imagine from a larger authority, this is the sort of thing that they will look at. But I think tonight we need to take a common sense approach about this, and look at providing support to Burnham Town, and I will support that we don't introduce these charges.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Spenceley.
Yes, I've thought about this quite hard and read a lot of the representations and letters from residents. And as a Heybridge councillor, I can have some sympathy for the feeling that Maldon is quite unique. It's a hub that attracts people, drivers from quite a wide area and from all directions. And people are used to paying car parking. And the fact that the car park is full pretty much any time you want to try and park there shows that people are willing to pay those fees. And I think for Burnham-onCrouch to go down the road of levying charges at this stage would constitute an experiment whose consequences we can't really foresee and which would be very difficult to reverse in terms of the impact. So I too will be supporting Proposal 5.
Councillor Lagan.
Thank you, Chair, but everything's been said that I was going to say, so I won't ease into the time.
Councillor Fittock.
I think Councillor Siddle sort of indicated that moving forward that this might be something that another authority might want to do. But I guess if we're looking at the report based upon the evidence that's in the report, it's very much geared towards financial benefit and or recovery of costs. But when you look at the research on these matters that have been conducted by the FSB, the Porter's review and things like that, I mean, one thing that stands out is this statement: car parking charges must be reviewed more holistically as part of an accessibility strategy for town centres, which take into account the need to promote its businesses. Now, one thing that we've got in our corporate plan is that we want to increase the visitor numbers and request and ask them to stay longer. So whilst this talks about financial benefits to the council and return, in terms of recovering costs, it's not part of a holistic strategy that tries to encourage people to attend the villages more and more. I mean, I went to Burnham yesterday, and in comparison to Maldon, there were very, very few people walking around the town. It was pretty much empty. And I went and actually spoke to the practice nurse in Burnham-onCrouch, and I asked her what they thought about the proposal. They didn't even know about the proposal. And they did, at the end of it, feel there'd be considerable detrimental impact on them, their staff, and on residents that can't necessarily walk to that surgery because they are coming from quite long distances. We don't have any public transport network that gets them to that by any other means of driving. And whilst the report speaks of providing places for some of the patients, when I was there was 9 people waiting. Well, if we're going to allocate 6 spaces for the residents, that's not going to be enough. And secondly, they actually have 35 employees. On the question of whether £750 or half of it as a concession would be affordable, the general consensus amongst the practice staff and the staff that I spoke to was that wouldn't be something they would readily be able to afford. So really all we're doing is that by doing this in terms of gaining financial benefit, we're pushing the problem elsewhere because people will move to locations in the area that they don't have to pay. I'm not saying that it will discourage people from attending the doctors because they've got to charge. But when we look at things proportionately, we often consider whether or not we should increase our council tax by the optimum amount. This year it will be £6.72 per year. If you look at it in broad context of if someone's there for an hour per week at £1.30 per hour. Over a year, that's £65. So I don't think the evidence that's been presented persuades me that this is in the strategic best interest of the district or indeed Burnham-onCrouch. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. You've just made in your 3 minutes. Councillor Bowen.
I just want to refer to 3.7.8. The enforcement of the car parks will be incorporated into the community engagement officer's daily activities, so we're not being additional costs. That's fair enough. But in Burnham, people park where the hell they like. There's no enforcement. There's hardly any enforcement in Burnham. Does that mean, if it was to go ahead, that Maldon would take over and they would come and do daily enforcement of the car parking in Burnham? I don't think so.
Okay, thank you. Ms Green, do you want to come back on that point, or?
I think, Chairman, we have suggested that if members' wish was to introduce these charges, then there would be appropriate enforcement action taken.
Okay, thank you.
Just a very
Councillor Fluke.
just a point of clarity, really. Can officers, but based on what Councillor Fitter said, can the officers confirm whether or not they consulted with Burnham Surgery over this?
Councillor Fluke, this is your second bite at the cherry. Well, it's not a point of procedure, and I did say I was going to be a bit strict with this. So
are you saying that you're not going to put that question to officers, Chairman? Because I think the people of Burnham-onCrouch need to understand whether or not there was a stakeholder consultation, because my understanding there wasn't with the doctor's surgery. So I think it's a fair and proper. If you're ruling that shall not be answered, then please say so.
no, I'm not ruling it won't be answered. Do we want to respond to that, or can we respond to it, Ms Green?
Yes, Chairman, this was something that was considered by the working group, and it wasn't felt that a consultation was required.
Okay, all right. Councillor Pratt.
Most of the points, thank you. Most of the points have been well made, and I think common sense is prevailing around members of this committee. But remember that the doctors is a business, and there is a chemist across the road. There is a co-op the other side. Are we offering, the newsagents, are we going to offer them all permits? Because if we offer all the businesses around the Five Ways junction, there won't be any room for actual residents to park their cars. As you know, Chairman, I was elected in 2007, and since then, this idea has come to this committee several times. And I'm grateful to say that every time common sense prevails. The points have already been made. There is no off-street parking in most of the houses around there. People park there to use the doctors, to use the chemist. To start charging, I think, is going to be so difficult and cause so many problems, which have already been taken to the South Essex Parking Partnership. I was chair when it came there. They said, if we start charging for the car park, what measures would you take? And they virtually obliterated for like a quarter of a mile all the way around that junction with either pay to park, permit parking, or yellow lines. And that just puts the problem. And they said, this is just not practicable to do. So I think I'm ready to take a vote, but I know Councillor Stamp, has spent a lot of time.
Councillor Stamp had asked to speak.
And I'm sure at any point I've not made, she's got ready to clobber us with.
Councillor Stamp had said she wanted to speak, so at the end, so...
Thank you. I'm conscious that you're going to shut me down, so please excuse me if I speak too quickly. Maldon District recently adopted the Corporate Plan 25-26. Page 3 of the plan says, where quality of life matters, and we are committed to running a local authority that puts residents first, is a great place to work, delivering goods quality services whilst working in partnership to support communities. To deliver this plan, we will build a good practice to continue to. And it also says, listen to the needs of our residents. Page 4 says, of the plan, 65% of our residents live in a rural area. 65%, okay? So my question is, where is the evidence that this report supports the corporate objectives other than an additional revenue stream? Page 17, the corporate plan, growing our economy. What consultation has taken place with our partners and residents, and can you share the feedback with the committee? The FSB I won't mention because Councillor Tony has already said that. He's raised that very well. 21 of the corporate plan says that we will support the vulnerable and services being accessible and inclusive. How is this going to be delivered when the doctor's car park is not going to be freely accessible? 6 spaces will not meet the need. When this policy was applied in Maldon, the last lot of resurfacing was by SEP, the White House Lane car park and Butt Lane, 86 grand, and that was paid from SEP money. It wasn't paid from any car parking charges. That was taken, as far as I'm aware, within Maldon. 3.62 is not applicable now. Even more importantly, I think, which is what Councillor Siddle says, 3.71, not every member. I didn't support it in the working group with the little bit I was allowed to say. 3.75, how much is this pot currently, and when will the pot be used to repair the car parks? 3.79, not all members on both groups supported this. 3.85, closing the door after the horse is bolted. How on earth can you reverse it once you've brought the parking charges in? This council has sold 2 assets to Burnham-onCrouch. One was the Clock Tower and one was Providence Car Park. We've resurfaced the Clock Tower, the Providence Car Park at 75k, and the Clock Tower at 18k, and we're actually going to do that again. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I've done so much work on this because there's a lot of work that needs to be said and a lot of points raised in response to this report. What's it called? The petition, at the moment we've got 753. Councillor Spencer raised a very good point by saying that their inbox has actually been filled with, with people complaining and not wanting. Our economy and our local businesses have not been consulted. We will not survive this, and this is another, as far as I'm concerned, a nail bell, and what's it called, a nail bell? That's saying that nail in the coffin, whatever it is, if this council does this, it's not welcome. All you're going to do is move a difficult parking situation. We've got white lines coming out of our left, right and centre ear rolls, haven't we, Councillor Pratt, now? And the thing is, you're just creating a massive problem and you are not going to add anything. This council is supposed to be supporting local businesses and the economy, and you're not doing that by doing this. And that is over the time. Thank you. I could go on because I've got loads of documents, but I won't.
3 minutes, so well done. Okay, any other comments before? I will make a comment, and that is that I think that Councillor Siddle is right in that actually going forward, it's highly likely that this will be reviewed again at some point across the country. Car parking charges, though disliked, are a fundamental part of the revenue that keeps councils going and keeps the services of councils going. So even though on this occasion, fortunately, the council is in a position where it's a revenue stream, just at the moment we could survive without having it, there will come a point where actually there will be some difficult judgments that are going to have to be made in relation to car parking charges, not just in Burnham, but other areas as well. And it'll be something that is seen across the country. There are very few areas that don't have car parking charges. However, I think the view of the meeting is quite clear, and I think we've got to a point where we need to take a vote.
Before we take the vote, could I just make one comment for us to consider perhaps transferring the car park to Burnham Town Council?
Well, that's not on the agenda. That's not part of the discussion. So you've made your point, but actually that's not part of our the discussion as far as tonight is concerned. So we've got a proposal for agenda item little 5 that the car park charges originally proposed on the 21st of November 2024 not be agreed, and the council continues to offer free car parking at all Burnham-onCrouch car parks. That was proposed by Councillor Stamp. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Byrne, thank you very much. So we had a request for a recorded vote. So Tara, do you think we could?
Yes, Chairman, no problem at all. So members voting for recommendation 5, as the Chairman just said, if you could indicate for, against or abstain when I call your name, please. Starting with councillor Bound, please.
For.
Councillor Driver.
Abstain.
Thank you. Councillor Fittock.
For.
Councillor Fluker.
For.
Councillor Lagan.
For, please, Tara.
Thank you. Councillor Pratt.
For.
Councillor Siddle.
For.
Councillor Spenceley.
For.
Councillor Staff.
For.
Councillor Thompson. For. Thank you, Chairman. The results of that are 9 for and 1 abstention. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. So we move on then to agenda item 8, Council Tax Support Scheme 2020.
Sorry, Chairman.
Oh, 7.
to
Sorry,
advise-
I think I've. Oh no, yeah.
But
Sorry,
also
Tara.
that was a the last item was a recommendation to council.
Yes.
So that will be recommended to
Okay.
council on the 13th of February.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bird. Thank you very much.
Clarity, why? I thought we've just said we don't want it. I thought we
Because
could make that decision
It
here.
is to the council. So this is a recommendation. It does state it in the paper. This is a recommendation to the council.
I'll keep me paperwork for next time then.
There you go. There you go. You've already written it out, so you're ready for the next time round, Councillor Stamp. Okay, let's one meeting, please. One meeting, please. So we move on then to agenda item 8, which can be found on pages 57 to 80. Mr. Cookson, I think this is you.
Thank you, Chair. Ms Green has kindly offered to present this report for me, so I will just pass across. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So this is an annual report that comes to members every year. This is relating to the Council Tax Support Scheme, which assists our residents who are on low incomes. The law requires us to have a scheme which is approved by members every year. So this is coming before you today to approve that scheme. As the report sets out, it is a substantially unchanged scheme. The only changes are in relation to legislative changes and technical amendments. And therefore, I propose the recommendations at item number 2 on the paper, members. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, well, just before we do that, so this is a recommendation again to the council, so it will go from us to the council, that the following changes to the existing schemes are approved. A cost of living increase in line with the Department for Work and Pension schemes be included in the local pension tax support scheme for pensions only, 25-26 for pensioners only, that any legislative changes being introduced to the housing benefit scheme for 25-26 are mirrored in the council's LCTS to ensure consistency. C, minor technical amendments to ensure that the council is able to administer the scheme reflecting current local and national guidance, and that the council may disregard anything determined to be a local welfare payment from its calculations. Little 2, that these decisions have been made following members' careful reading of and regard to the equity impact assessment at Appendix 1, that members note the unchanged framework for the hardship provision at Appendix 2, that the policy document at Appendix 3 be approved, and 5, that following receipt of the final policy document relating to the council tax support scheme, this be presented to the council for approval. I so move this group, and does there so I was saying to Councillor Lagan, thank you. Questions? Councillors?
Just a quickie, little 2, it says that these decisions have been made following members' careful reading of the regard to the equality impact assessment. What members, where, how, and whatever.
That's, I presume.
What was now?
Well, we
Oh, okay.
we are.
Oh, okay.
It is
I
the
thought you'd
meeting we're
maybe done it
sitting in.
before.
We've had papers, so yes.
Thank
you. Councillor Fluker.
I've never seen that before, and a report comes to this council. But I think yes, one can be very careful reading something, but it doesn't mean to say you understand what you're reading.
Well,
so I
there
would
is
have
an
thought
opportunity
I would
within
have
the
thought
meeting
the
to
word.
ask questions.
I would have
if you're
thought.
not
I would
clear.
have thought the. I certainly won't speak for however minutes it is on this subject, but I would have thought that understanding might be a better word to use when you get to council.
Okay. Any other questions? No. So we've got a recommendation seconded and agreed by assent. Yeah. Agreed. Thank you very much, members. Okay, so we move on to agenda item 9 then, report business rate and council tax discretionary policies. This can be found on pages 81 to 130. Mr. Cook. Sorry.
Just like to pass it to my screen.
Yes, you can. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Screen.
Thank you, members. Again, this is an annual policy document that comes before members. They are substantially unchanged and they relate to both business rate and council tax discretionary policies. The main changes for this year in the policy document relate to legislative changes, and the first one being the announcement of 40% retail, hospitality and leisure relief for the year 25-26, and secondly the removal of charitable rate relief from private schools from April 2025. So I would ask members to agree the proposed changes and the recommendation to council.
Okay, thank you, Ms Green. So the recommendations to the council, might make that point again, that the proposed discretionary non-domestic rate relief scheme at Appendix 1 be approved, and that the proposed empty homes and second homes premium policy at Appendix 2 be approved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Fluker seconding it. Thank you very much. Any questions? Are you? Oh, hang on. Go on, Councillor Stamp.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I have told you, and you're doing a sterling job being quick. Councillor Stamp.
Thank you. It's only a quick question really on page. What is our success rate for these collections?
98.6.
Is that what it says? Have I missed it in the report?
Don't let me down.
Ms Green, do you have a figure off your head?
I can't off the top of my head, but I'm very happy to send that to members.
It's not important. I'm just interested.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Yeah. Understand that. So, hang on. So, if Miss Green's going to circulate that to members, then hopefully that is a response to your question, which is fair enough. Any other questions? Can we agree by assent? Agreed? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we move on to agenda item 10, report capital investment strategy for 2025 and other elements on there. So this can be found on pages 131 to 204. I'm going to look at you again, Mr. Cookton, and
This one is me.
this one sits with you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Members, I've come to present to you 3 strategies. They are presented on one report as they are very closely linked. Is the capital investment strategy for 25-26, the minimum revenue provision statement for 25-26, and the Treasury management strategy for 25-26. The recommendations that the committee considers the report and appendices and recommends to council for approval on 13th of February. So the capital investment strategy at Appendix 1, that also includes the capital programme, which is the 4-year outlook of capital expenditure and how that is funded. And also that is at Appendix 1A, and also the new capital project bids for approval at Appendix 1B. They are the new bids that are being added to the existing capital programme. The minimum revenue provision statement is at Appendix 2, and the Treasury management strategy is at Appendix 3, with the SIT for Treasury management practices at Appendix 3A. So the capital investment strategy is, as I've mentioned, it's the intended capital expenditure plans and funding arrangements of the council, and it also sets the SIT for prudential indicators against which actual expenditure and borrowing should be monitored. So these strategies were presented at S&R, at Strategy and Resources, in November. So there was quite a large update to the strategies in November, and that was because of the inclusion of the leisure contract being such a significant amount. At that time, I did do quite a large update to the narrative in those reports as well. So these revised strategies for 25-26 are basically just adding on the final year of the capital programme and adding on any new capital bids and updating any relevant figures. But you will find that the strategies are very similar to what was presented into S&R in November. I'm happy to, I can appreciate they are lengthy strategies, there's a lot there, so I'm happy to take any questions at all.
Okay, just before questions, I'll just go through the recommendations and read these through. It's a bit dry, but there we go. So recommendation little 1, that the committee considers this report and appendices and recommends to the council for approval on the 13th of February 2025, and to the council little 2, the capital investment strategy 25-26 appendix 1, which includes the capital programme for 25-26 to 28-29 appendix 1A, and new capital projects bid for approval appendix 1B. Little 3, the minimum reserve, the minimum revenue provisional statement 25-26 at appendix 2. And finally, little 4, the Treasury Management Strategy 25-26 Appendix 3, with the Treasury Management Practices Appendix 3A. Any questions? Councillor Stamp.
Yeah, can I just say a bit for clarity, please, if Mr Cookson wouldn't mind? On page 156, Table 1, Minimum Revenue Provision Forecast 24-25, if you go along, 23-24 is 226, 24-25 is 12, then it goes up to, I don't understand it. I'm sorry I'm being a bit divvy, but no, can you do it in plain speak, please?
That's absolutely fine. So the minimum revenue provision is how we pay off capital expenditure, and it's that capital expenditure that is either funded by lease payments, which for accounting purposes is classed as a debt, and also internal borrowing from reserves as well. So while the council does not have any external debts as such, you have to include internal borrowing as well as leases in your minimum revenue provision. So there was an element of 226. Off the top of my head, apologies, I can't remember what that was for. That was the end of a lease. I think it may have been to do with waste, but I'll have to come back to you on that. Then there was, it went down to 12, that is just paying off a lease payment. That was in 24-25. And then as you can see, it ramps up in 25-26 and onwards because of the purchase of the waste vehicles. There is an element of that for the MRP for the leisure contract, but that's quite small at the start of the contract. So the majority of that is for the waste vehicles, which will be paid off for a period of 8 years. So you'll see at year 8 that then that goes down to just the leisure contract, and obviously any additional borrowing if that actually happens.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Pratt and then Councillor Fitton.
Just a very short, through you to Mr Dobson probably. At our last meeting, we had long discussions about the flail at 40k, whether it was justified or not. I've not seen anything that justifies it, but I noticed the number's still there and the project sheet is still there. I just wondered what progress had been made on the debate that we had last time we talked about this.
Mr Dodson, or Ms Green, who's going to pick this one up?
Chairman, I think I might be able to help on that.
Yeah.
Well, just trying to move it on.
Yeah. Well, hang on.
It was a mistake last time, and you clarified.
Sorry, if I could, it has been reduced. It was 65 previously and is now 40.
Councillor Fluker.
Yeah, I think what the confusion was last time was the way the report was brought forward last time. I think it just spoke to the flail and not the tractor that was connected to it. So there was this huge expense for a flail, and it started to get a bit confused. But the picture had a tractor connected to the flail, but the report only had the flail. So I mean, to me, it just looks like the right price for the bit of kit it is, and we need it. So
okay, thank you very much, Councillor Fluker. Councillor Physic, did you want to, you had your hand up earlier, but did I?
Yeah, just a general question. Obviously, on Appendix 2, we've got the MRP position. Obviously, it's better than it would be because we aren't going to borrow, if you like, as forecast in the leisure contract, the expenditure doesn't start from the beginning of the contract, it'll start later on, yeah? So are we saying that we do it, I mean, it's likely that that could increase considerably in later years, given that the debt has to be funded over the lifetime of the contract. So is it likely to step up much, much higher than this, do you think, or will it stay at around 678?
I can get the actual figures for you, but it is a gradual increase because of the annuity method, so it gradually goes up. It's £20,000 in 25-26, so over a 20-year period it will gradually go up. You will actually see a drop when the waste vehicle is paid off in year 8. So I can get those figures for you, but
I was more thinking about the reflection on the leisure contract, because if we were borrowing money, for example, then it would have been over the 20 years for 26,000 per annum or 462 per annum. But we're not borrowing, we're not lending that level of money in the beginning, are we? It was £5.71 million was the debt that was supposed.
Yes, so that the actual paying for the capital expenditures is a separate accounting adjustment, but yes, the 5.71 million is planned to be spent actually over a 3-year period, because it's going to be February, March this year, then next year, and then a little bit in year 3. So the expenditure will go out the door gradually.
Should that not be reflected in the RP? That's what I'm saying.
No, because they are different measures.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so I've read out the recommendation. Do I have a seconder for this? Councillor Siddle, I think, got his hand up first. So can we agree by assent? Agreed. Thank you very much. Okay.
Excuse me, Chair. Could I have it recorded in the minutes that I dissent, please? Thank you.
Oh, yes, indeed. Ms Bird, did you get that?
Yes, I got that, Chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so we move on then to agenda item 11, Hythe Quay Dredging Project. This can be found on pages 205 to 210. Councillor Lagan, as the chair of the committee looking at this, is going to present it, and followed up by Ms Green. Councillor Lagan.
Thank you, Chair. I think the easiest way of putting it is just to give members who are not on the working group a little bit of a reminder context when the motion this constitutionally has to go to the committee that deals with it. So it went to SNR. SNR established a working group. Ms Green, along with Nigel Harmer, have been working hard with other officers. We've met about 3 times for some long, frustrating conversations, but it's definitely been pushed ahead. But the long and the short of it really is we agreed that we would support the desiltation of the Hythe Quay so that we can keep the barge fleet in Maldon, and we can provide access to visiting yachtsmen from other areas with the potential hopefully to raise some revenue. So members, I don't feel like I need to say anything else on that apart from thank you to Ms Green, thank you to the members of the working group. And this is a very well supported proposal at council, so I'm very hopeful that we can continue to support and get this much needed work done. So thank you, Chair.
Okay, just a minute. Ms Green, do you want to then just follow up with a bit more detail about the paper?
Thank you, Chairman. As Councillor Lagan has set out, the working group have looked at all of the detail of the proposals, the work that's required, etc., and we have been able to engage a consultant to support that piece of work. So we are at the point now where we have established what would be a reasonable budget for this work to continue. So the proposals before you this evening are to support the budget provision of 135,000, which will enable us to then go out to procurement and actually move this project forward.
Okay, thank you. So I'll read out the recommendation and I'll take questions. So the recommendation is little 1, that a project to desilt the Hythe Quay and visitors pontoon as shown in the map or Appendix A proceed, and to the council that's subject to 1 above. a budget provision of up to 135,000 is created for desilting the Hythe Quay and visitors pontoon. Councillor Siddle, I think, and then, I think it was Councillor Pratt and then Councillor Siddle. Councillor Pratt and then Councillor Siddle.
Yeah. On page 209, the little map shows a red line. Could I ask, does the red line indicate where we're going to dredge? Because the straight line at the north will not allow visitors very easy access to our pontoon. It needs to be at 30 degrees at least, if not more. It's just, if that's a hard line, that's where we're going to dredge. We're going to come in against a hard wall. And I say we because I declare a very slight interest that once or twice a year I may use it. Thank you,
You
Chair.
get your cruiser up there, that's very much. Yeah, yes, Councillor Lagan.
Just very
yes,
quickly, Councillor Pratt, yeah, we have to put it at a slope because otherwise we'll end up with slumping and it's just going to fall in. So that's part of the design.
Okay, hopefully that's answered that. Councillor Siddle?
I think I said my view of this last year. My additional thing. So I think the working group needs to meet again, and with whatever consultant you've met with, and so that we can allocate an annual budget to this and look at what do we need to spend each year to maintain the access. Because there's no point in doing this if it again is then neglected. So one of the things I'd really like to see happen, I'm not saying whether we need an additional recommendation, but we need something that that we allocate a budget to this. So for in perpetuity, if that's the right word, perpetuity, I can't say it, forever. So that again, we are leaving a legacy for this maintenance. Because I don't want we don't want to spend this money, and then in future years, and if Maldon District Council doesn't exist, it's then neglected and forgotten. So I think we need to ensure that we have some kind of annual maintenance or a project that looks at this and say, okay, what do we need to spend each year in the future, so that we keep doing it.
Yes, but by all means, I was going to bring you back in as
Thank
the
you.
chair of the committee, because we have discussed that.
Yeah, so the original motion was actually put in two sides. It was do the additional work, but with recognition that we will need a sinking fund or some sort of plan to do it on an annual biannually basis, and that will be taken care of when the consultant looks at with the stakeholders, when do they think with the level of mud build up that needs to be done and what the rough budget estimate would be. So that's all in the mix, but not put in this paper.
So the intention, I think, Councillor Lagan, is that we come back once the consultant's been formed and we've got a figure that we could then talk about. But at this stage, it's getting this bit of work done. Councillor Thomas.
Thank you. Oh, well, the work needs doing. It's been spoken of very eloquently. I support the recommendation. So
Thank you.
Perhaps we can go to the vote. Thank you.
Councillor Pratt, you wanted to say so? Oh no, so Councillor Fluker.
Just quickly, I must admit I was a tad surprised to see this the budget provision in an open public document, because it certainly alerts everybody to how much money we're expecting to spend on this, and my own experience of these sort of works would suggest that figure's quite high. But on the plus side, I understand that is it Mr. William, the consultant, he's already been in touch with local contractors to work out how to do this as quickly and efficiently as possible. So, subject to the vagaries of the procurement rules, I think we really do need to push on with this.
Agreed.
Yeah, so...
Okay, a second, just formalise this. Second for the... I haven't read it out, have I? Oh, yes, I have. I have read it out, but I do need a second. So, Councillor Pratt, thank you very much. Can we agree by assent? Thank you very much. Okay, we will move on to agenda item 12, 2024 revised, 25 revised and 25-26 budget estimates. That is page 211 to 244. And Mr. Cookson, I believe this is you.
Thank you, Chair. Members, I've come to present to you the 24-25 revised and 25-26 original budget estimates report. So the purpose of the report, there are a number of items in there I've laid out the provisional local government finance settlement for 25-26, which was received on the 18th of December. Come to present the revised 24-25 budget and the original budget for 25-26. I have come to present the options for the proposed level of council tax increase for 25-26 and also to present the policy on the use of reserves for approval. So as you can see in the report, point 3.4 is the local government finance settlement. I've explained what that is in terms of core spending power and how that is presented. You can see that in the following table on page 213. I have then talked about the general fund revenue budget estimates for 24-25, the revised budget estimates. So there are a number of budget adjustments that happen throughout the year which have received approval. This is just outlining those. So in terms of the pay award, which was less than budgeted, so we had to adjust the budget for that, and a number of other items. That then leads in a logical order to setting the budget for 25-26, and that summarises the items that have built up the 25-26 budget, including the growth and savings items which are listed in the different appendices. Then moved on to interest on investments, and also there is a section on council tax in 3.12, just showing that the rate of 2.99% has been applied to the 25-26 council tax base. That then just explains a bit more about the council tax. There is then a section on general fund reserves, and then a section on risks as well, and the conclusion. But I'd be happy to take any questions on that report off members. Thank you.
Okay, so the recommendation then to the council that the following be approved: the revised 2024-25 and original 25-26 general fund reserve revenue budget estimates, appendices 1, 2 and 3. Little b, an average band D council tax of £231.01 excluding parish precepts, which is a £6.74 increase for 25-26, Appendix 1. Policies on the designated use of financial reserves in Appendix 4. Maintain the current policy on a minimum general fund balance of 2.6 million. And E, that the council gives due regard to the interim chief financial officer's section 151 officer statement on the robustness of budgets and the adequacy of reserves in Appendix 5. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Siddle. Questions? Councillor Stamp.
Yeah, mine's not a question. It's an observation again. This time last year, if these members was on this committee, I had a meltdown because I couldn't see the colour scheme of this appendix on my laptop. Do you remember? I got very upset because I couldn't see it. I couldn't see the red and green, and it all goes together with me with my eyes. And I don't think I'm the only person who has issues like that. And thankfully, Councillor Durham and Tara were brilliant, and now I do get paper copies because I struggle. But I would like to say, or wondered if something could be done about the colour schemes that we're using to produce papers. I'd rather it was blank and just had the red. Honestly, I tried to look at this chair tonight because I wanted to be this afternoon because I spent all day on it, and my eyes was just going together. Now, I know that could be an issue for me, but it's happening, and we really do need to be addressing this.
Councillor Stamp, I mean, that's a reasonable request. I mean, certainly in school settings, those with dyslexia, I think it's blue background with print on top of that helps people. So I think actually if some people have issues, then we need to address that and provide appropriate printouts. Councillor Siddle and then Councillor Fluker.
So based on that, can we ensure that when that paper goes to full council that we have changed the colours? Please take that forward, because it's not only members that look at these papers, it's members of the public as well. Sure. So if we make sure that happens by full council, please.
Yes, we'll do that.
Thank you. Councillor Fidget.
Thank you. For you to the 151 officer, on the earmark reserves, Appendix 4, there are a number of lines, and a number of lines don't seem to move between the next now and the next 3 or 4 years. So if I take community housing fund grant, so I'm just wondering whether they're reserves that have been sitting there for some period of time and not used, or whether they're new reserves that have been put there to be used because there's no forecast of usage. So I'm just wondering whether it's some of this money could be utilised elsewhere if it isn't required in these earmarked reserves. It is historic. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fitty. Yes, you are correct to pick up on that, and it's been discussed with the finance member working group as well, and a strategic review of reserves is going to be taking place in the coming weeks to ensure that we're using them efficiently.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Fluker?
Yeah, thank you. I was going to commend Mr Cookson on a very, very easy to read report, and I've read a lot of these over the years, but I was going to mention the fluorescent green that you included, because I must admit it did freak me out a bit when you move it up and down. But anyway, if we can go to page 238, Mr Cookson, through you, Chairman. I always like an assurance statement because I like to read the caveats, and I think in bullet number 2, I was sort of a little bit concerned about what the 151's sort of highlighting in relation to the waste and leisure contracts. And I just wondered, Mr Cookson, and I wish you well for the future, and I hope you take the option up to stay here, because I like your reports. But clearly this is some time down the road. So, you know, from your experience, what would you say as the 151 officer in relation to your assurance statement? What type of close monitoring that you referred to in bullet number 2, or bullet 2, would you propose?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's all about contract management. Really, we've got to have good internal controls. We've got to have good relationships with the leisure provider and the waste provider, for that matter, and to ensure that the rules are followed and they are enforced as well. Is the key thing to protect the council's finances, ensure that the performance of that contract meets the intended goals.
Councillor Lagan.
Thank you. My level 2 in RSA bookkeeping and accounts from 1993 has never given me enough financial detail, and I'm very financially naive. But the medium-term financial statement, first of all, how long is that? What is defined as medium-term?
Medium term is generally 4 years, and that's how I've set out our medium-term financial strategy as well, over a 4-year period.
Brilliant. And the second part of it is that in Appendix 5 on the budget assumptions, we talk about the financial risk as the second box down. It's the financial risk inherent in any significant new funding partnerships, major outsourcing arrangements, or major capital developments. And the impact assessment, it says the leisure contract agreed in 2024-25, the proposed contract states the provider will pay a management fee each year regardless of the activity levels. The council will initially fund the investment to the leisure estate over 2 years. The management fee payable will reimburse the cost of the capital and any lost investment income. Therefore, reserves balances will be replenished by the end of MTFS. And please steer me right, because if I'm looking at what X amount of expected income comes in, that doesn't equate to that expenditure going out and being paid back over that short period of time. Does that make sense? I don't want to use the exact figures.
Yeah, so from my calculations, by the end of by the start of the 5th year, the initial investment will be repaid by the leisure provider.
That's the bit I can't marry, because some X of what the expected revenue to the council from the leisure provider is a set sum of money. If you take that by 5, it doesn't come to 5.71 million.
Which figures are you referring? Are you referring to the 500,000 a year on average? Yeah. So they are average amounts, and that was set for the procurement. That was set for the investment appraisal. That is an average figure, but actually we are receiving a lot more income in terms of the management fee, and then it's up to us as a finance team and a council how we actually use those amounts. So they will be put back into reserves to replenish the lost interest as soon as possible to minimise that impact on the council. There's also a sinking fund of £25,000 a year as well, and because of the low amount of MRP that's being charged, we're able to replenish that quite quickly. Because if you look at the actual management fee coming in terms of the expenses, the management fee, is I think pretty much around about £1 million for the first few years. So it will be quickly, well, over the period of the MTFS will be paid back.
So do you expect to get that full amount of revenue, or full amount of money back in within those 4 years?
Yes, I'd say, yeah. I think it's just about the start of the 5th year, yeah.
Bold statement, but let's see. Thank you.
Mr Wilkinson.
Councillor Lagan, just to add to that, or hopefully add some clarification. I think we as a council tend to focus on the £500,000 income from the leisure contract. But if members recall, and I can't quote the exact numbers, in the table where it showed the income, there was 2 numbers. There was the number that the contractor will pay the loan and the income of 500,000. So the sort of round figure £1 million, what Mr Cookson refers to, we get that every month, every year. Every month. That's why Mr Cookson is the 151 officer. Yeah, but I think we as a council tend to remember the £500,000 income alone as the net figure.
I hear what you sound like. Time will tell, won't it? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Fittock.
I mean, just on that point, I think if I'm not incorrect, we're not necessarily going to need to fund £5.7 million from day one. So the MTF is reflecting, if you like, what we've got to pay out over that period of time versus what we're going to get in. So I don't know, it's not £5.7 million in the first 4 years, is it? In the budget, but not necessarily in reality.
Do you want to come back to that, Mr Cookson? Or?
Councillor Lagan, can I come back to a written response on that, please? Yeah, I'd like to.
Yeah, that'll be absolutely fine. But what you've explained is making more sense. But yeah, a written response to everybody would be very welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Siddle.
Yeah, my understanding in terms of the income from the leisure contract is that we smooth that out over 20 years. So therefore, we can then predict in terms of the use of that money and the use of the reserves and the replenishment of the reserves. Is that correct, Mr Cookson?
Yes, that's how it's been modelled. Correct.
Okay, I think we've probably discussed this as much as we can, so I've gone through the recommendations. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, Councillor
Before you move on, Chair, no, this is Miss Green has provided us with the information, and I think it should be said at this meeting for records. Non-domestic rate is 99.03% collection, and council tax is 98.1%. So thank you very much, and then it could be recorded and it's minuted that that information was provided. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms Green, and thank you, Councillor Stamp, for alerting us.
Yeah, could I also concur as well, because as I just said to members and to the top table, I'm not a financial brain, and Mr Cookson just puts things in such a very easy way, so thank you.
Noted, Councillor Lagan, thank you. Okay, we move on then to agenda item 13, found on pages 245 to 276. Now, when we came into the room, a number of you noticed that an email had appeared. I would ask you to have a look for that email that came from Miss Bird. This relates to an alteration that Mr Cookson is going to take through, just explain where this has come from. But the suggestion is that you look at this in front of you. Otherwise, if we try and put it up on here, you're just never going to be able to see any of the numbers. So maybe if I give you just 30 seconds or so just to find it and get it on your screen, so we can just give people a moment just so that they can see it, and then we can go on to the report. Are we okay? Can people see it okay? Are we all right? Looks like we are. Okay, so Mr Cookson, if you can take us through this, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Members, I've come to present to you the medium-term financial strategy for 25-26 to 28-29. The strategy outlines the Council's approach to managing revenue finances over the 4-year medium-term period. It also highlights any risks inherent in setting a strategy over that period. I just want to draw your attention to the revised Table 2 that was submitted just at the start of the meeting. So what I'd intended to do when I was writing this report, I felt that I didn't want to roll forward the previous document and calculations. I wanted to start from scratch so I could have complete confidence in those figures that I'd put forward. So you can appreciate that did take quite a lot of my time up to make sure that we were getting there. I was confident with the figures that I submitted to Strategy and Resources last week when the publishing date was. However, I've had an extra week now to reflect on it and just double check my calculations to prepare for this evening. And I can see that an obvious error has been made. And the reason for that really is because I've been doing the Treasury strategy along with the MTFS. Treasury looks at actual cash out the door. That's how you're managing your cash, whereas the medium-term strategy and setting the budget is looking in accounting terms. And as you will see on the first table, which is in the Strategy and Resources report, you'll see there's two large figures, drawdowns from reserves, 4 million next year and then 1 million the following year. So that is the actual cash out the door for the leisure contract. But in terms of medium-term financial strategy, it shouldn't have been presented that way. It should actually be the minimum revenue provision in its place. So now I've replaced that cash drawdown with the minimum revenue provision. It is obviously a significant figure, and that's why there has been a large change. But looking at the outcome and comparing it to previous reports, I can see that it's much more consistent with what we'd expect to see and what has been presented previously. So I just wanted to apologise, but I have been through this 3-4 times just to make sure that I'm satisfied with this. So I do appreciate your understanding, but if there is any questions, happy to take any at all on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr Cookson. I know there's a lot of work you've been doing over these last couple of weeks and just double checking figures, and so I appreciate the fact that you've come to us, to clarify these figures so we know where we are. Okay, thank you. I'll just read out the recommendations for agenda item 13. So, little 1, that the revised medium-term financial strategy MTFS for 25-26 to 28-29 Appendix 1 is reviewed by the committee and recommended to the Council for approval. And secondly, that members note that further adjustments to the medium-term financial strategy may be necessary before Council approval, depending on the outcome of the final 25-26 settlement and business rate return. Any significant changes will be highlighted in the Council papers. And to the Council 3, that the revised medium-term financial strategy MTFS for 25-26 to 28-29 Appendix 1, as recommended by the Strategy and Resources Committee, and the subsequent necessary adjustment is approved. Those are the recommendations. Do I have a second? Councillor Spenceley, thank you. Questions, members? Councillor Fluker.
Yeah, thanks. Look, Mr Cookson, there's no need to apologise. You brought the report forward, and and I'm sure you had a silky smooth handover when you arrived here, and so well done. Because okay, just a general question, really, from your perspective as the 151. When do you think we should start to start including the impact of the LGR on the MTFS? Because clearly, when we get to 27, 28, there's going to be some quite big financial implications. I know it's very difficult from your position. to try and understand what those implications are likely to be. But nevertheless, I think it still is prudent to do that.
Thank you, Councillor Fluker. Yes, I do agree, and I have made reference to LGR in the actual report. Looking at the timescales, it is 2 to 3 years in the future, and potentially you could imagine there are going to be delays with it. But that's not to say that we shouldn't prepare for it. It's very difficult because at the moment we don't understand what LGR looks like for Maldon. It's still under discussion. The government guidance hasn't yet been released, I believe. So we are talking about it, discussing about it. And when some new information comes where we can put a figure towards that and we understand the direction of travel, then we will be certainly doing that to ensure that we really get the best outcome for Maldon and its residents.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Can we agree by sense? Thank you very much. Okay, we move on to agenda item 14, then the UK Share Prosperity Fund 25-26 allocation. This can be found on pages 277 to 280. And Ms. Cable, I think you're presenting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. So the purpose of this report is to inform members of the 25-26 UK Share Prosperity Fund, UK SPF, allocation from the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, MHCLG. In the Autumn Budget 2024, the Chancellor confirmed the continuation of the UK SPF for another year, which will allow local authorities to invest in local growth in advance of wider funding reforms. MHCLG issued the technical note and allocations on the 13th of December. This release confirmed that Maldon District Council would receive £327,146, split between capital and revenue expenditure. Maldon District Council is the lead local authority for administering and managing this fund. The table at 3.2 defines the split of minimum capital expenditure, maximum revenue expenditure within the allocation. For 25-26, MHCLG have mapped existing UK SPF interventions into mission-led themes across the three priority areas of communities and place, support for local business and people and skills. Local authorities are expected to continue engaging with and seek support from local partners to deliver the fund, known as the Local Partnership Group. One Maldon District Partnership has acted in this capacity since the submission of the original UK SPF investment plan in 2022. MHCLG has confirmed that local authorities will not be required to submit a revised investment plan. Instead, the routine reporting periods will update MHCLG on the proposal and delivery progress, including financial spend. As per the previous allocation, local authorities are permitted to utilise up to 4% of their allocation by default to undertake necessary fund management administration. This council had previously sought and received permission to utilise 6% to support this activity. For delivery, consideration should be given to those projects that were not brought forward under the previous allocation due to financial constraints, and be informed by the existing Strategic Asset Working Group and any project aligned to the corporate plan priorities. To maximise the impact for the benefit of communities and the district, members may wish to consider 100% match funding the allocation. Subject to approval of the recommendations, a further report will be brought to March 2025 Strategy and Resources Committee meeting outlining the proposals to manage, administer and monitor the fund. For the recommendations, recommendation 1 is members to note the opportunity presented. Recommendation 2 is in relation to the aggressive pace of work required for these projects. And actually, if recommendation 3 is approved, that would have to go forward as a recommendation to council on the 13th of February due to the value. And also that Maldon District Partnership continues to act as a local partnership group for the duration of this fund. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. Well, look, you've sort of half read out the recommendation, so I will read them out as they stand here. bit tortuous, I know, but nonetheless. Recommendation, little one then. Members note the opportunity presented for investment in the district by the UK Shared Prosperity Fund 2025-26 allocation and the Council's role in delivery and administration. Little two, that members note the aggressive pace of work required to identify projects that are suitable for delivery within the time frame and the corporate leadership team in consultation with the Chairperson Strategy and Resources Committee be granted delegated authority to identify such projects and report back to the next meeting of this committee for approval. That members consider the opportunity to 100% match fund the Council's allocation to maximise delivery opportunities for the benefit of communities in the district. And finally, little four, that members approve that the One Maldon District Partnership continues to act as a local partnership group for the duration of the fund. That's proposed. To have a seconder. Councillor Lagan, thank you very much. Members' questions? Councillor Stamp.
Yeah, thank you. I do support this, but I would actually ask that on reflection and knowing how little expenditure is spent outside the Maldon itself in other areas of the district, could I have some reassurance that, I mean, Heybridge is growing, Burnham's growing, that it is a little bit more equally shared out, and Southminster, yeah, you're going to get hammered, sorry. How can I forget him? He's sitting next to me, I do apologise. I can't say everybody, but I think you get the gist of what I'm actually saying. So what reassurances are we going to have as all the areas that can receive some of this funding to bring benefit to their communities, whether it be business or what, and also getting the information out there. I mean, this council does do a lot of good stuff, but it's very rarely, unless it's down to members or we see it on Facebook and we reshare it, we do have to be a little bit more proactive in making sure the word gets out there on the positive, not just the negative, like what we've discussed on agenda item 8 tonight. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Siddle.
Answer, please.
Yeah. Yes, sorry. Yeah. Would you like to respond? Sorry.
Yes, of course. So, obviously, subject to the recommendations being approved, then officers will work with CLT and the Chair of Strategy and Resources to identify projects that could be brought forward this, and consideration will be given to the benefit of the entire district. Obviously, if the, recommendation 3 is approved, that would maximise the budget to allow us to deliver further and wider and consider more projects that would be in scope for the benefit of residents.
Yes, Councillor Stamp, you can come back, yeah.
So what oven-ready projects, I think we've used that word before, have you got going? Because this is a time-limited project, so I would envisage that there's a list that is ready to go. So what I'm saying is that are nearly ready to go. It must be, otherwise they're never going to be delivered in a year, 18 months or whatever the life of this paper. So based on that, can I actually ask whoever the decision is going to be making these, that it is fairly shared out, please?
Yes, of course. So there isn't a definitive list at the minute. Lots of officers we're going to be working with have ideas for projects that will need to be assessed against our corporate priorities and also any strategic plans that we have. So, whether that's through CAMP and working with the strategic asset group as well to bring forward any potential projects that are arrived at.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Siddle, I think, and then Councillor Fluker.
I just want to clarify a little to who's actually, whether the leader will be involved in that, because I think I was last time, but I'm not listed there. Could Ms Cable identify whether I will be part of that group like I was last time? And also in terms of the Thriving Places Index, again, we had a different group to give those grants. So again, will that be the same sort of group that we had in terms of the Thriving Places grant that we did?
Thank you, Councillor Siddle, and apologies for my omission. Of course, we would be delighted to work with you to identify the projects and to bring those forward. Due to the time frame of this fund, I can't imagine a grant programme. We'd be able to establish that to go through the governance and application process and then see immediate effects of that to any grant recipient. I would imagine this potentially would be a more direct delivery, so therefore the council delivering potential projects. Obviously that we would need to procure services and contractors to deliver any work, but I due to the time frame, I don't think it would be possible to have an open grant process, unfortunately.
Okay,
So could we amend little 2 so that it also lists the leader of the council? I think that's one of the key things in terms of the district understanding this grant, in the fact that it is more focused on Maldon District Council assets and Maldon District Council projects. The Rural Prosperity Fund, which I don't think we know about at this stage, is a completely different fund, and the Rural Prosperity Fund is the one that is accessible to communities to apply for grants. So I think one of the things about this is understanding the difference in terms of how these funds are allocated and focused.
Okay, Councillor Fluker, then Councillor
Thank you, Chairman.
Fitter.
Firstly, I just wanted a bit of clarity around recommendation Roman 3, that members consider the opportunity to 100% match funds. So does that mean that we're going to match the 327 from our own funds? Yeah. And I would just, I understand the difference between the two funds, but I would just remind officers that this council has assets in Southminster. It owns 2 parks in Southminster, both of which could do with some support. And I hope that they take that into consideration, and I'm more than happy to meet officers in Southminster, and also I'll meet Councillor Stamswell and show where the 1,000 houses are going as well in Southminster. And then the other thing is, when we went through the process of the Hythe Quay regeneration bid, we weren't successful. One of the things that came out of that was the importance of having these oven-ready projects. Now, I think from what's just been said, we don't seem to have those. And by not having them, that puts a lot of pressure on us. So I hope going forward, because, I take some comfort from the new government, because they want to actually, they want to make more money available to local councils, believe it or not. So if we do have projects ready, then we're up and ready to go, Chairman. And I think the leader's now going to say we do.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to come back quickly then, and then I'll.
I totally agree with Councillor Fluker, and that's what we're looking at the Strategic Asset Working Group. Yeah, for too long we sat on our hands and not done anything, and prevaricated and delayed and not spent money. Part of this is ensuring that we do have oven-ready projects, not just for this, but in the future, and also in terms of if we go and blow our reserves, and obviously I think someone's going to come and have a word with us. However, one of the things that we need to do in terms of the next year is to ensure that we do have projects, we do have planning applications, we do have things that we can leave as a legacy, and are in place for any potential new funding, and also using the funds that we have available, so that we leave a legacy in terms of Maldon District and as members. And one of the things I really want is that members get behind this. So if Councillor Fluker does have things that Southminster needs, then to really ensure that we bring those things forward, and that applies to any assets across the district. It's really, really important that we do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Fiddick, and then I think Councillor Pratt.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, I agree with...
Oh, sorry, I'll make sure I bring you in, Councillor Lagan. You're not forgotten. Apologies. Councillor Fitter.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with Councillor Fluker in as much as I mean, it's really... I don't have a problem with match funding any sums coming forward, but it can't just be a case of we're working on the projects that have already been promoted in the past, which will generally be things like camp and those types of areas. And that there is proper member engagement about what the priorities are that we're setting, and it's not purely officer led, and this is the things that we want to do. So I'm supportive of it, but I think there needs to be some good engagement with members about what their values and importances are as well.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Pratt.
On page 279, 5.1.1, could I just have an explanation what mission 2, 3, 4 and 5 actually mean? Because the words are there, but it doesn't mean anything to me, because make Britain a clean energy superpower. Does that mean that we are prepared to pay for charging points? Take back our streets. I have no idea what that means. And I know I'm new to the committee and perhaps I should know, but build and NHS fit for the future. Are we really going to do that? So if an explanation of 5.1.1 I'd be very grateful for. Thank you.
Ms Cable.
Yes, of course. So those missions refer back to 3.3 of the report, whereby the existing interventions used under the Conservative government for UK SPF have been mapped into the mission-led themes across the priority areas from the new Labour government. And they are the 5 key missions which they stated within the UK Share Prosperity Fund guidance which have been released to local authorities.
Thank you for the explanation, but I still don't know take back our street means, and I don't know what build and NHS fit for the future means. Are we going to build something, or I don't...
Mr. Dodd, yeah, indeed, Mr. Yeah, I mean, but yes, this is a Labour Party point rather than anything else. However, Mr. Dodson, do you want to say anything?
Only to say that's exactly the point. They are the government's missions.
You are free to contact the Labour government and ask them for them to explain to you.
However, Chairman, we're going to be allocating money for these things, and none of us in this room know what they mean.
Okay, Councillor Lagan.
Yeah, just a short one. The concern, I think the leaders alleviated my concern, but it went a little too under the recommendations because of what Ms Cable said about moving at pace. It's got to be considered holistically with the Strategic Activities Working Group, some of those projects that come out there, and then thorough member engagement, as Councillor Fittick said, because I don't really think that limited it to the chair of S&R gives us the broad church that we would like to cover, the broad church which we have. I'm more than happy to support the recommendations with the amendment for the leader to be part of Little 2, and I just want to commend Ms Cable as well for a very good report with such complexities that sit behind it, with taking back our streets, etc. So thank you.
Okay, hang on, just one meeting. I've read out the recommendations. We've had a seconder, so can we agree with that adjustment to include the leader who had been missed out, but will be included with that adjustment? Can we agree by assent? Thank you very much. Okay. So we now move on to agenda item 15, revised health and safety policy. This can be found on page 281 of your pack. And I believe Mr. Baccarini, are you online, Mr. Baccarini? Yes, okay.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Chairman, sorry, just before Mr.
Yes.
Baccarini starts his report, I'm just going back to the previous report. The recommendation regarding match funding is going to council, just to confirm. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Good evening, members. I present to the committee a new corporate health and safety policy for review and approval. Having an up-to-date health and safety policy is a statutory requirement under the Health and Safety at Work Act, which mandates that employers with 5 or more employees must prepare and maintain a health and safety policy. Non-compliance can result in unlimited legal fines or imprisonment, and whilst prosecution is unusual in such a manner, employers who do not have an up-to-date policy typically find themselves in breach of the more practical elements of health and safety law, and as a result are penalised elsewhere. Breaches of health and safety legislation often lead to injury of staff and or members of the public, asset damage and reputational damage. The health and safety policy that is presented has been revised and extended, with the principal changes being to the roles and responsibilities of key staff and additions which include summaries of the arrangements for health and safety. There are additions confirming the role of all employees, new responsibilities for the Chief Executive and Deputy Chief Executive regarding annual review of the policy, to ensure that mechanisms for consultation are in place, and to regularly review performance indicators for health and safety. In addition to this, team managers and team leaders now have a duty to ensure that risk controls that they identify as being required in their risk assessments are implemented. There is clarification as to the responsibility for display green equipment, with responsibilities for the ICT lead specialist. More detail regarding responsibilities for first aid arrangements at MDC depots, and finally, a new section setting out responsibilities for staff who appoint contractors. The report refers to supporting policies, providing greater detail of these and listing them at the end of the report. In summary, we believe that the new corporate health and safety policy is fit for purpose. It presents all the elements stipulated by the HSC and should be approved accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baccarini. So the recommendation to the Council, little 1, that the revised Health and Safety Policy Appendix 1 and Statement of Intent be adopted. Little 2, that the roles and responsibilities of committee members and key staff be noted. And little 3, that the annual review period be noted as well. That's a recommendation. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Thompson, thank you very much. So any questions? Councillor Spenceley.
So it's not a question about the report itself, but the list of policies on page 298, the current versions, looking at the age of some of those, the bomb threat terrorism policy, current version is coming up to 6 years old. Given dreadful events in Germany and this country, I'm guessing there'll be revisions coming out in response to various things. And then the mobile home working policy is actually 10 years old, nearly. So am I right to guess that these will be coming up for rapid review?
Mr. Baccarini, could you respond?
Yes, I can confirm that we are going through a sort of wholesale review of all of the supporting policies. It was identified in our audit. We was aware of it anyway, but we've got working groups assigned to each policy, and we're picking our way through in sort of priority order.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Stamp and then Councillor Fluker.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Spenceley, as well, because I've highlighted the mobile home working because I found it a little bit woolly on page 297. It says the arrangements for home and mobile working are well established. Are they? Have we got policy that covers? 2015. Yeah, but no, I understand that. But I thought we were looking at maybe having people coming back more into the office. Now we've actually decided we're having this here. So is that where this is reflected here or not?
I'm not sure. Can I just I'll let you come back, but just I think this is in relation to home working specifically, as opposed to how much time is spent at home as opposed to at work. However, keep going, Councillor.
And the second one,
Stamp.
it says, because if you read the front of the report, it actually says that members have got to agree as well. Committee members and key staff note it. And I was looking at page 297, and again, display screen equipment. There's nothing in this health and safety policy that covers members. We use screens. We actually do quite a lot of work. Who's going to look after? I think I've mentioned this on more than one occasion now. Who's going to look after the members here? I know we're not paid employees, but if you're doing a health and safety policy and you're asking me to note it and agree it, I'm going to be saying, well, what about me and my fellow members? Thank you.
Mr. Baccarini, can you respond to that?
Yes, I respectfully, I don't wish to get into the detail of the supporting documents tonight. I really was looking at the overarching policy, which just lists some of these. We're obviously picking through these, and I don't think it's appropriate to go into the detail of particular one.
Mr. Baccarini, can I just ask though, even if we're not going to pick up your point, even though we're not going to the detail, within those policies, the question that Councillor Stamp asked, is that apparent within those policies or not? Or is this something that's going to have to be picked up later?
I think this will be picked up later, Chair.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll note that actually this is something that needs to be considered. Councillor Siddle.
Looking at the report, and I can see that there's been a working group, but on that working group, there's been no members at all. Yeah, I think it's important in terms of the future that that it is predominantly officer related. However, I think there should be member representation on that working group.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lagan.
There's I agree with the leader and I agree with Councillor Stamp. It's more comments. There's a lot of work goes into getting what's down here in black and white. So there's been a seismic shift in stuff coming forward. I feel very careful about choosing my words here. Health and safety policies, as Mr. Baccarini has said, are a legal requirement. Often they're written incredibly dry. This is incredibly dry. We're a people organisation, so it doesn't have to be directly linked to all the legislation. We want to commit to reducing workplace harm. We want to commit to ending any injuries. We want to commit for being better for coming to work. These are things that I think inspire people, and a policy is a piece of paper that if you don't have a relationship to, it doesn't mean anything. It just means we've ticked the box for the legislative requirements. So whilst I'm happy to support what Mr. Baccarini's done now, I'd implore Mr. Baccarini to look at the more humanistic side of it rather than what could happen if something goes catastrophically wrong. And I respect your incredible knowledge and background within health and safety. But I've learned over my 30 years within the industry, if you humanise it a bit more, you get more relationship with it, you get more pull for it, and your incident rates actually go down. So we don't want to make it too cumbersome and too bulky. And I'm a little scared that that's where we are. And you are entitled to an eye test and you are entitled to a DSE because you use it for more than 3 hours a day. So that's just a comment. It's not a criticism. It's just something I offer to take on board because a council is an organisation of people and it feels just a bit dry to me.
Yeah, my experience of these health and safety documents is they're things you have to have, but actually you also have they've got to be taken on board by the community, and that's about how you communicate that. So I think, Mr. Baccarini, it's really important that we have a robust policies, and thank you very much for all the work you've done. But I agree with Councillor Lagan's point that we've just got to be careful about how we then communicate this so that actually both staff, officers and members understand and embrace it, as well as having the security behind us that there are robust policies in place that we need. Just
to finally add, because I think it's important, John, and thank you for your kindness, and let me just say this. There's an analogy that I use. This feels like I'm shouting at a plant to do something. A plant won't grow if you're shouting at it. You've got to nurture that plant, you've got to develop that, and you've got to care for it. So that's just a little seed to put in the way of thinking.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Siddle.
Okay, so therefore I would like to put forward a recommendation for an amendment on page 285 that we have an additional bullet point there which says an additional duties and clarification for members. And also that we have a recommendation to full council that the working group has 2 members from full council on that working group, and we appoint that at the full council in February.
So that's a proposal seconded by Councillor Stamp. Do we want a discussion on that, or I get the feeling that most people are on board with this? So can we agree that particular motion by assent? Agreed. Okay. So Ms. Bird, did you get that?
Yes, Chairman, I've got that
Right.
amendment to the additional bullet and the additional recommendation.
Right.
Yes,
Okay. I hope, Mr. Baccarini, this is not a slight on you. This is just recognition that actually taking on board the points that have been made. This is about hope. I hope you'll see this as something helpful, and will move the council on in terms of embracing the work that's been done. Okay. So just going back to.
Chairman, just to note,
sorry,
Chairman, the bullets listed on page 285 just show the updates from the previous version.
Okay, so where
That's what those bullets refer to.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, we need to work those into whatever is the latest version then, if that, is that possible, Mr. Baccarini?
If I could perhaps have some clarification
Okay.
of what's required after this, I'd be grateful.
Do you want to do that now?
As you require.
Well, since we've got a proposal, and we've actually voted on it, but if there is Ms Bird has pointed out that actually where we've suggested this is inserted is in a previous document, but Councillor Sill, do you want to?
So I'll amend my recommendation. So I'll say, an additional recommendation is that the health and safety document, whatever, report is amended to include members and and taking into consideration members, and that the working group, again to full council, that the working group at full council, 2 members, or we can do it here, I don't mind. We can take it from SNR because this is a report to SNR. That we have 2 additional members to that working group, which is at the moment just made up of officers.
So we're amending the proposal, but actually, are you happy to, since you seconded that proposal?
Well, we'll withdraw the first one and we'll put the second
So
one.
you're happy to withdraw the first proposal. Are you happy, Wendy, to withdraw the first proposal? Right, the second proposal we've got from Councillor Siddle.
And I'll second it.
You'll second it.
So therefore we
hang on,
need-
Miss Bird, that was, are you going to be able to make sense of that? I hope so.
So Chairman, I think there's 2 additional recommendations that we're asking the policy be amended to include members.
Correct.
And
Yes.
that 2 members be added to the working group
From strategy and resources.
from strategy and resources. Okay, Chairman.
For the chair,
Miss Bird,
just
yeah,
before
does-
we vote on that, would it be more advantageous to open up at full council? Because it
I
would
don't
be a
mind.
very quick decision to make, but there might be someone within the portfolio of members who has a higher level skill set.
Okay, so we'll do it
Without
at
being
full council.
disrespectful to any of us.
Fine.
Do it at full council.
If that's okay at full council.
Did you pick that up, Miss Bird? That actually this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
not just from within strategy and resources, but
From
we
the
could
council.
have from the council. Okay, so we've got a proposal. It's seconded by Councillor Stamp.
Chairman, I've just got one.
Oh, yes,
just a quick
indeed.
question, because recommendation 1 is that the revised policy be adopted, but obviously we're asking that the policy be amended to include members. So I'm not sure. Are we going to say, do you want
Right.
subject to that amendment?
Yes.
Or are we looking for the policy
No.
subject to that amendment?
Subject to
Yeah.
that amendment, I think, would be the
that's fine.
easiest way of dealing
Yeah.
with that. Otherwise, this is going to be.
That's fine.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I think we haven't voted on that yet, though. Can we agree that by assent? Thank you. Right. Okay.
Thanks,
Councillor Fluke.
Councillor Fluke, thanks. I just look, health and safety. I've been around the construction industry for 40 years, and everybody embraces it now, and everybody should embrace it in the workplace. And the construction industry is, a very, very dangerous industry. And Councillor Lagan's absolutely right. All of the documents now. It was unusual 5 or 6 years ago when they were written in 5 or 6 languages, but now the tone of these documents are so easy to understand and read. They are very, very simply written now, and they shouldn't be complicated. But I think looking at this table on page 298, I sympathise with the officers, but really and truly it's missing a couple of columns, because I suspect the sun exposure policy that came about in 2018 hasn't changed, because the sun still comes out and we can talk about various things to protect you from the sun, and that hasn't changed. But I think it'd be very good from a member's point of view if we dated the document. So instead of saying the current version, we dated it, and then we added 2 additional columns, which would be the normal practice. The date it was reviewed, and then next to that, the date the review is due again. And because some policies you really don't need to review every year, but that would make the officer's job far more easier. But also, it's going to alert members to the fact when they're not reviewed. So hopefully, whoever the lucky members are that goes on the health and safety working group, then they'll embrace my suggestion, and I can see that the chief is nodding his head in favour.
That makes sense. It makes sense to in terms of general policy management. It's a good approach. Mr. Baccarini, are you comfortable with that?
Yes, I just wanted to respond, Chair, that
Yes.
The working version we have amongst officers does have all those elements that have been referred to. This one, just being in the policy, was sort of summarised without any commentary on which one's a priority for review, but the ones we're working with do have all those that information.
Okay, well, I think we just need to make sure we can see it and it's clear. But okay, thank you. If that's there anyway, then that's good. We had a sort of a proposal at the beginning, but we've got the actual recommendation that we've got in front of us. We need a second to that, and then we just need to agree on that. So can I have a seconder for that the three recommendations that are there? Thank you very much. And can we just agree by assent? Agreed, subject to that amendment that we had discussed and voted on. Okay, so that is 15. Thank you, Mr. Baccarini.
Thank you.
On to agenda item 16. Any other items of business that the chairperson decides are urgent? There are many and numerous, but I'm going to lay them to one side. So no is the answer. So on to 17, exclusion of the press and public. I need to read this out, that under section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph of part 1 of schedule 12A to the Act, and that this satisfies the public interest test. Yes, I so move. Do I have a seconder? I think this is the series of paragraphs that might apply. Agreed, thank you very much. So we move into closed session then.